Hey, Stricker Drama, and figured today I'd talk about my experience with the keto diet. I'll say this right up front. If you're thinking about the keto diet, I would review that with your physician. This is one that if you have underlying health issues, could potentially cause you some issues. So you need to make sure you're in good health before you try that keto diet. That's my spiel on that. Anyways, my experience with ketosis. So on 2 occasions now I've tried it. The first occasion I went down in flames. I hadn't really prepared to go into ketosis as far as gaining the knowledge that I needed about what benchmarks you were going to meet on the way into ketosis, and then how to slowly transition into it and not end up in what I ended up in, which was a keto flu. And I'm talking about, like, when they say keto flu, there's nothing different from the flu as far as you're concerned. It was, I think, May, and I was walking around in a coat because my regulatory system was absolutely fried from the keto flu, and it was horrible. I mean, everything ached. It was just headache, like not a good thing, right? So I backed up. I said, I need to learn more about this before I try it again, and I did. I came up with a plan to go into ketosis a second time, and I waited, and then when I was good and set, and I thought I had pretty good knowledge base on how to get myself into ketosis, and not end up back in the keto flu, was when I tried it again. So the second time I tried it, it went phenomenally. I mean, I managed to ease myself into ketosis, as far as I'm concerned, eased in, and then maintained it for a couple of weeks. I thought I did a really good job as far as what I wanted from it, and what I wanted from it was I never felt like, no matter how many sit-ups I did or anything, that I lost visceral fat, and I wanted to make sure I was doing what I need to do to lose that. And visceral fat is different than subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat being immediately under your skin, visceral fat being inside your abdominal cavity and around your organs, right? So, I mean, I could literally see a six-pack through my skin, but my stomach was never flat. And so I said, well, maybe this is visceral fat. Ultimately, being on the keto diet for a couple of weeks, in my opinion, got rid of the visceral fat, and my stomach flattened out, and I felt awesome about it. And, ultimately, ultimately it was a wake and drinking a few beers that took me back out of it, and then I just didn't go back into it. So that's what that was. There are 2 ways to get into ketosis. You can choose the way where you proportion out your protein, you increase your fats a little bit, and you really scale back on your carbs, and you keep modifying that over the course of a couple of weeks, and you slide yourself into ketosis. I didn't go that route. The way I went into ketosis was I just stopped eating. That was contrary to the advice of my physician. He said, he really wouldn't do that, and I did it anyways. On both occasions, it took me about 72 hours to end up in the keto flu the first time, and it took me about 72 hours to end up in ketosis on the second time. The way that I would know that I was going into ketosis was you can get the ketone urine strips, and then when you go to the bathroom and you go to urinate, you just piss on one of those strips, and it'll start showing you the color when you start putting ketones out in your urine. Keto strips will work for you going into ketosis, but once you're in maintenance of ketosis, they stop working because you stop spilling ketones in your urine. What I did find that you could monitor it when you were in ketosis was an alcohol breathalyzer, one of the little monitors. So I bought one of those, I think off of Amazon or somewhere off of the internet. It wasn't very much, it's like $20. It worked for me, and I could actually, between 0.3 and 0.8, kind of monitor how much fat I was burning at the time, and like if we were really ripping fat, you would be able to tell it through the alcohol breathalyzer monitor, and if we were barely touching it, you could tell that too. So the monitor matched what I knew was going on inside of me. when I stopped eating for the 72 hours and eased myself into ketosis, the difference between the first time and the second time is I figured once I got into ketosis completely, I would go back to eating, which was the absolute wrong answer. So when I tried it the second time, when I started to show on the colorimetrics for the urine strips that I was entering into ketosis, and it wasn't just, a questionable, like, hey, did that maybe change color? I could definitely say, I think they turn pink. Yeah, I could definitely say, like, yeah, that thing's turning pink. I started eating scrambled eggs, and the ketosis version of scrambled eggs is 4 eggs to 1 tablespoon of butter. You have to have that butter to have the fat concentration in there. So, I went ahead and did that. And then the other thing I made sure I did was I kept up with my vitamins. And you have to make sure you're hydrate. And then I was taking, I think, a calcium, magnesium, and zinc supplement while I was doing that. And, that helped a lot. So I would say, does ketosis work? Absolutely. No other member of my family participated in the ketosis diet. So I was cooking like 2 meals or 1.5 meals when I was doing it. Did I like it? Man, I'm going to tell you, being on ketosis diet, in keto, there's never been another time where I felt like food worked the way that it works in ketosis. Because when you're in that diet and you're in ketosis, you start feeling yourself losing energy, you may be getting a little sleepy. You eat, and it's like somebody threw rocket fuel in you. And for the next couple hours, you feel like you could pure bust through walls. And then as you burn through that food and you start getting low on that food again, and you're starting to naturally pick up the fat stores in your body, your energy level starts coming back down. And then the next time you eat, you're like a rocket ship again, which is, in my opinion, the way food should work to begin with. So, again, I would do all of that under the care of a physician. And I can't tell you, I sat here and told you, that not everything I did was advised by my physician. But, and the first time I hurt myself. And the second time, I came up with a better plan, and I did it that way. But there are a lot of resources out here on the internet, especially here on YouTube, about ketosis. So, I would definitely do your homework. And then it is absolutely easier to do that if in a family household kind of a format, if you're doing it with somebody else. If not, you can make like a partial recipe for yourself and then finish that recipe for other people. In other words, you can make like chicken with some cream cheese for yourself, and then take and make noodles in Alfredo sauce for the rest of your family, and they can have chicken Alfredo and you can have chicken with cream cheese, and you're not kind of cooking 2 whole meals kind of thing. Those are the things that I kind of learned through doing it. My son loved it because we had bacon coming out of our ears, and that kid's a fan of bacon. So, but it's a good diet. I thought it was a good diet, and it did everything I wanted it to do. But you can't hurt yourself if you go into it unprepared and you don't know what you're doing. So that's my take on the ketosis diet, or keto, if you want to call it. There are some great recipes out there that you can get offline. And yeah, again, I would definitely reference your physician, because if you're, pre-diabetic, diabetic, and you try the ketosis diet, you cause yourself some issues. And then, maybe the way to go is to do it over a couple of weeks and fall into it slowly, instead of, just face planting it the way that I did. But, I'm sometimes impatient. I didn't want to wait that long. So, all right. So I'm Trick or Trauma. You guys have a great day.